Hey Flosstube, Pam here, stitching between the lines. I'm doing battle with this ray of sun. You see it? So I feel like I've tipped myself at a funny angle. So we'll see how it works. And my iPad is on a little tripod, so hopefully that works. I feel like it's precarious, but anywho, I'm back so soon. So much goes on. Oh, there's always things to talk about. First, I have to say thank you for everybody being so kind about my blurry video, followed by my corrected not blurry video. I was so surprised when it uploaded so quick from my phone, and then when I saw how blurry it was, I thought, oh gosh, what went wrong? What went wrong? So anyway, I remembered that my phone said it was full or too full and needed to start saving pictures at a lesser quality. So anyway, obviously that was lesser quality, uploaded in no time. So anyway, I did something different, did some different things, and actually ended up uploading that 34-minute video from my iPad. So if anybody cares to know how that's possible, let me know. I'm hoping I can do it a second time. We'll see. It did take like 30 hours of my iPad's time. But it was just, I will try it under that same method away from my home where there's Wi-Fi, say at the grocery store. At any rate, it worked. It's there, and I appreciate people's kindness and understanding over our foibles as we learn these things. And I have to thank, I have a note for a few things. I have to thank Norma and Ruth, who so generously offered me a visit to their house to use their Wi-Fi. That was really sweet. I do have some friends with Wi-Fi, high-speed, decent Wi-Fi, not over the phone lines like I have and my library has and my church has, so that's kind of a common around here. They have actual cable that comes to their house, and my own daughter, I have yet to try to use their Wi-Fi. I know. I close the door that's behind me usually because there's sunlight coming in. And I knew if I shut it tight, there'd be a cat fussing over it. Well, sure enough, there's Murphy needing to check out why the door is closed. So he doesn't even care about that room or ever go in it. So anyway, I have a little bit of progress to show. I don't necessarily have any new shopping to show. Now, there hasn't been shopping. The one package that I think ABC stitches I'm not expecting yet. I knew that would take a while. 1, 2, 3 stitch with my April wordplay said, I'm pretty sure the email said by September 1st. That's not here, and today's September 8th. And then I ordered again. See, this is the newest thing. I ordered again from 1, 2, 3 stitch. I'm not really that weak generally. And I don't even know the name of the pattern I was on the waiting list for. Notify Me. The little country cottage, I think. The little monthly things, September and October. They're fall looking little things. I was on the Notify Me and it came in. So I thought about ordering it all by itself because I couldn't think of anything else I needed. But it's like $19 for those 2 little ditties. I'm sure it comes with the thread, but I'm assuming. I hemmed and hawed, and then on Tuesday I had a long, not pleasant, nobody wants to do it, dentist appointment. And I thought to myself, that'll give me something to think about. Let me think about, while I'm in that dental chair, what else I might like to order. And then coming home and ordering will be like my reward for tolerating all that. And so I did. I went online and I ordered those monthly September, October. It was a kit, those 2 together. And a couple other things. And ironically, funny enough, there were things in my cart already. Seriously, in my cart. I have like 2 iPads, a phone, a desktop, a laptop. So there's devices, and I think wherever maybe I had been perusing and browsing before, those things ended up in my cart, and then I never finished the order. One of the things was the big red barn. I don't even know. I showed you last time that pattern, so I took that out of there. But then there was a Sue Hillis in there that I wanted, so I got that, and I got a couple other things. But I thought they were going to be here yesterday, and they're not. So maybe by the end of today, well, maybe in today's mail, we're leaving this afternoon to go start my son's whole moving down to DC. So if it's not, I might not be here when it comes. So maybe it'll be here when I get back. So then the next thing that happens this time of year is I've been decorating for fall. And fall is I really like to decorate for fall. Second only to Christmas. So not all Halloween. Everything doesn't have to be Halloween. It can be fall. So what that means is I'm taking things off the wall and putting new things up, and I'm seeing all kinds of pictures we've never talked about, I've never showed. So I just grabbed a few of my favorites and brought them in here so that we can recap some of my things. So this one, and here's the other thing. Look at what I'm doing, because I had to look some of these up. I wrote on there the name of the pattern and the designer so that we don't all have to agonize whenever these come up again. Geranium House, Country Cottage. I love I love geraniums. I just love this. This is one of those patterns I keep. I always just look at that pot of geraniums and think if I needed some little ditty, that little pot of geraniums or the one with the bird would be so cute. So that's Geranium House. And I really like anything that can be framed in red. There's something about the red frames that I just love. So there's that. Cute as can be. I did that back in 07, so this is 10 years old. So that's one. I'm going to have to move out of the screen while I put things away. I think the most obvious, well, here's another geranium one while I'm on the geranium subject. One of my favorite summer flowers are geraniums, is Ladybug Ladybug, and that is by Little House Needlework. See, wrote it on there. I just did this one last year. Green frame, again, love it. That one's really cute. Stitched up really fast. And then if I had to feel like I had a theme, I have to keep scooching back in my seat. My chair is taller than somebody of my height because my workspace in my office is an old farmhouse table and it's taller than a desk would be. So I need my chair up. I have a pillow. So then I roll forward. And then I have a footrest to help. Sometimes that makes noise when my feet tip it. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. If I had to have a summer theme for my stitching in my house, it would be watermelons. So this one is Fresh Watermelons by Little House Needlework. It's pretty, it's cute. It's in a rustic looking frame. Distressed, that might be the better word for it. So that one just sits in my kitchen on the counter. Or somewhere. They change. Nothing has its like designated spot where it has to be. And then this I did years ago. Let me look. Did I date it? Huh. No. It's in, oh, wait, there it is. It's just hard to see. It continues to be hard to see. I don't know when I did it. A Slice of Summer by Waxing Moon Designs. And this is the frame that it goes with it. My favorite ever limited edition thread, and I still have it, I didn't go look, I think it's probably a Crescent Colors, is this one that went from blue to white to pink, and it was called Bomb Pop. You know those popsicles that are 3 colors? So that's what the letters, I'm still dealing with that Ray of Sun, are in that variegated. This was the best variegated thread ever. Keep waiting for just the right thing to come along that I need to stitch with that, because you know it's once I use it, that's probably the end of it. So there's that one. And one more watermelon pattern is Summer is Sweet, and Oh, maybe it's Victoria Sampler. I couldn't figure out who made this one when I Googled Summer is Sweet cross stitch pattern. I couldn't find it, but what should be familiar is that the patterns, a line of the patterns that this designer made had frames, and they all had buttons on the corner like this, and it's not a designer I normally stitch a lot from. But on the back of the frame, it says right down here, the Victoria Sampler. So I am pretty sure this all went, it was all a kit, I'm pretty sure. So it's a cutie. I put on, no, it must have come on here because it's stapled on, and that is not something I would have been inclined to do. So that's a fun little one. And then as far as Halloween things, I like Halloween stitching. I try to do a lot of Halloween stitching. I don't have a ton of it, but I like to do it. This one, let's see, is like a tray kind of thing, and it's by Bright Needle. And let me see if I can see the date. Back in 01, so I did this one a long time ago. Bright Needles, the ladies, the designers came to my LNS and did a class. And this was the funnest, I swear, class I had ever done, because what they did was, the outline of these boxes was the same. And you had a choice of which house you wanted to put in, and which cat, and which wording, and the lettering, or what it said, and which witch you wanted. So that was, I thought, the coolest thing. And they had on paper an outline of the shapes, and then they gave you scissors, and you cut from your pattern choices and glued or taped it on which ones of these things you wanted to put and where you want. They weren't all interchangeable. I think these might be the same size, but all the boxes, you couldn't just decide you were going to use all the witches that were a choice, because they didn't all fit. I thought that was the most clever idea, and this clearly came with it, because this framing isn't anything I think I would have chosen. So this I sit on my mantle every year with lots of Halloween things around it. I don't really like to put something down in the bottom of a box or a tray. How are you going to see it? Where is it going to sit? So this is small enough, it just kind of props up. Cute and fun. Then this is one of my all-time favorite fall patterns. And I wrote it on the back. I had to look it up this morning. It's Harvest Blooms by Hands to Work. Just love the primitive look of it, the fall, the Halloween, the hint of Halloween with the witch's boot. This was just, love it. I can't even remember that I've come across the pattern in the last few years. I did this in 07, so 10 years ago. If I really, really liked something, I keep the pattern. Otherwise, I pass them on. I can't remember coming across this pattern, so I don't know if I even still have it. I put all my finished patterns in one spot, so when I weed it out and go through it and all that. So anyway, here is, everybody will know this one, Midnight Watch by Blackbird Designs. I have to do the thing here. I did the border first, and this isn't my usual style. Usually I do the middle first, and then you can use the middle to make sure as you go with the border to keep checking yourself to make sure you're coming out. But I just threw caution to the wind and did the border first, and it matched up, which delighted me. Now, I'm going to say this. Not that you didn't see my initials. This pattern, this is designers. Take note, designers. Hear this. This the pattern was dated whatever year the pattern came out. Obviously, I did it in 2012. 2006, 7, I don't know, whatever it was. These letters are were very stylized in that design. There were no other numbers given in that design. None. So if you didn't stitch it exactly in the year that those numbers were charted, which I don't know how that was even remotely possible, seeing as it would have, you had to be a real, bought it right away and stitched it right away. Because it's one of those kind of patterns that comes out in the late summer, fall, whatever. Designers, don't do this to us. Give us, if you're going to stylize your letters or numbers, you need to give us a chart with additional choices. So I just had to kind of, the 2 I could do because it matched the 2, but you know, I just could do what I could do. Because I think if it was 2000 or something, I think the other 0 was like big, and I don't know, it was very stylized, and that really ticked me off, and that still stays with me, and designers still do it. Still don't give you the chart of the numbers. If don't do that to us. So anyway, still love the piece. I'm not saying I don't love the piece. This was just a trial, and it stuck with me, and it was one of the things, if you're going to chart out, I mean, if this was 2000 and something, you've still created 3 numbers. 2006, that's what I'm going to say without going to look. You can do some more numbers. It's only 10, 0 through 9. Come on, come on. So anyway, there's that. Lovely and all. One more that is here. I'm sure there's more. There are more. I know there's more. This was Murky Manor by Glendon Place. This was a nightmare. I started this, I think in 2009, and here it's finished in 2016. This fabric, which it's done on the called for fabric, which I don't remember what it is. Sorry, it's been a while. It was horrible. Floppy and weak linen. It was horrible to work with. I tried stitching in the lines, the gridding it. That was a nightmare. You know, before there was YouTube and things, I used that slivery silver, I don't know, thread. That it was a nightmare, and it didn't work. So anyway, I decided after it was an ignored whip that I took it to Florida with me a couple years ago, and I decided it was going to get done one way or another. And the only thing that was done on it was I had the green grass and a couple of the pillars, and I don't even think the pillars were started. So I worked and worked and worked and worked on that until it was done. And I just picked it up this morning. It's been propped up in this room for a few weeks. I think the pattern, I think this said rip on it, I think was an outlining, should have been on there. And I didn't put it on there, clearly. I think I was so darned happy to be finished with this thing. I worked in chunks, chunk and a chunk, just to break it down, and outlined as I went because there's a ton. But over here, I remember the moon took me forever, and of course this tree is a nightmare. So I got it done, and it came with buttons of skulls that were supposed to sit on the top of each of these pillars. And they were huge, so my fabric is clearly a much higher count than was the pattern called for. They were just huge and looked ridiculous. So I had to go back and I had to restitch because these pillars were made or lost in the background behind the original called for button, and so you didn't even stitch them. So I had to go back and sort of recreate what they would look like. But it's a wonky haunted house, so I could have done anything and it would have looked just fine. But all that work at that point, I wasn't going to just... So I remember taking the pattern to the store, and she had the purple fabric, and I don't remember that I even paid any attention to the count beyond it being a count I was happy to work on, and thinking about the size of the buttons. So anyway, it came out nice. I really am very happy with it. As I was working on it, I would take pictures to update my blog, I think, and seeing the pictures always made it look like there was so much. It made it look so nice versus what I was looking at as I held it in my hand. So Glendon Place, Murky Manor. I gave my buttons away. Did a giveaway on my blog. The pattern, I'm sure I probably still have it, but I know it was probably a lot of the problem was my fabric. So anyway, my sun ray has shifted. Ooh. Okay, so I'm almost done with finished projects. Sorry, I'm moving things out of the way so maybe I can scooch my chair better and not worry about rolling into my stuff. Another very cute little finish, I forgot I had this one, is called Cat Tricks, and it was a With Thy Needle and Thread, and that is so stinking cute. I finished it just like she showed, where it's very primitive and not all very regular with the wool on it and wool on the back. And the way that, well, first let me talk about the pattern. I did it 1/1 on a solo piece of silk weaver from way back when I was in the monthly fabric. I was in the Surprise Me, and one of the absolute 100 drop dead best things I ever got was a package, I think, of 6-inch squares, roughly, I think. They were so fabulous. I've never ordered from Silk Weaver again after I did this monthly. Now I'm almost afraid to, because I hear things, but also, how are they going to top how wonderful this was? I did 1/1. It took me forever, but it is so cute. And then these are just little half circles, semicircles, and they're stitched just in that position, right on the fabric. I used a blanket stitch. And then when I put the back on, it sewed all around the edges, and I stuffed it very lightly. I don't like my things real thick. This is thicker than I would normally go for, but he's cute. I have this one, but I can't tell you anything about it. It just happens to be in the bowl that we're going to talk about next. It was a freebie. Like, it looks fall. They're robins. I just picked it up and did it on a scrap of fabric, made it into a pillow. And it's in the bowl. This bowl isn't totally complete because I have another small downstairs. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to hold it up and show it right, but we're going to get to the real key point here. So they're in there with some bittersweet. It's actually a candle wreath on a piece of old lace in a bowl. Look at that bowl. It is a signed, it's got a crack, so it's not, a signed Parish bowl. I don't care if I never find a cross-stitch pattern at a thrift store. I have this. And you know what's really funny is I walked away from it at first because it was $22. I just thought that was a lot. It was with my son. We went to the Restore as he's preparing to move from one apartment down to DC. We just thought we'd take a peek through. He found a coffee grinder, which was funny because he's a graphic designer and he did some work for somebody who roasts their own coffee beans and needed some signage or labels or something, and they're paying him in coffee beans. I said, how are you going to grind them? Do you know anything about grinding coffee beans? So funny, we walked into the room at the Restore with all the electronics, like microwaves and stuff, coffee makers, and there sitting there was this little coffee grinder. I said, look, it's a coffee grinder for $2. So he got that. So as we're walking to the checkout, I said, go get that bowl. I'll be back here tomorrow if we don't get that bowl. So he said, what are you going to do with it? I said, it's like to put on display. He said, oh, okay. Because I'm sure he's thinking, what am I going to mix up in this giant wooden bowl with a crack in it? And obviously somebody else displayed something. I didn't do anything yet to clean it. Something just stuck. It's not permanently. There's a couple spots in there like that. But then I came home and I looked it up and delighted I am. Worth the $22, that's for sure. So I have all these antique lace doilies, some made by my own grandmother and some by somebody in my quilt guild who was just inundated cleaning out her in-laws and her own mother's house with all the lace things. So I grabbed up several, and I have quite a few of them around under and in display things. So, and like I said, I have another fall small downstairs, but I'm not showing that yet because it matches the one that I did as a exchange piece. So you'll have to hold off and wait. Okay, so a couple other things to not make this a forever long. I was at Joann's and I picked up Cross Stitcher. This is the same magazine that I showed last time that I had done the American flag out of. It's a British, I guess, magazine. I don't know. We don't have time for me to read all the details. Pretty sure it's British, given all the things. I'm not going to show you everything. That's not the point, except get away from the sun. This is fabulous. And in the magazine, when you look at the finished one, Florida. Oh my gosh, people, Florida. Oh, I am feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling for you. You have no idea. We live in a area that a very, very large percentage of the people are summer residents only, and they winter in Florida. So at our country club, so my husband can play golf. Remember golf? 90% of the people, homes in Florida. We have a home in Florida. Our house we're in mandatory evacuation, and our house is, to me, in my eyes, very solid. It's maybe only 15 years old, so it's very solid, triple pane windows, but we have a lot of them. We have a lot of sliding glass doors. We are up on stilts, so it's 12 feet off the ground. And when I say stilts, you think of the like Jersey Shore where houses really are up on stilts that you see. You don't see these. The house, you have to go up a full flight of stairs to go in the front door, and it's the garage and what would be to us here in New York a basement down below. But it has breakaway walls and breakaway windows, like little windows that are only screens. So if water came, it would just break those away and it would go right. So the idea is the house wouldn't have water pushing against it, because the water could just, we have a car in that garage. So, and we are on the water's edge. We have a lot of mangroves. The water comes up to our back end of our backyard, and then it's mangroves for a long time, which may help break waves not to come up. But the Weather Channel explained to us that when you're evacuated, you're not evacuated because of the storm, the wind, the rain. You're evacuated because of the potential water level, and we are in the number 1 zone. So we're very anxious and very nervous, but I understand, to us, what we will lose our luxury items, the fact that we are safe and sound in our house in New York. But it's very stressful. It gives me tingles just thinking about it. I keep turning on the news and turning on the Weather Channel, and it didn't bother me until that evacuation notice came, partly because I'm there by myself a lot of the times, and I'm thinking, where would I go? I'd be over at the school. I don't know. My parents live about an hour north, and the water level would have to be what do they call it? The flood level? Like how much the water would have to rise is 35 feet before it would get to them. So I'd be going there. I'd be trying to find gas and trying to make my way up the road. So anyway, enough about me and more about you guys. We are thinking of you and feeling for you. In Texas too. Oh my gosh, Texas. Oh, I'm so sorry. So how come that started? It's a Greek community we live in, a lot of Greek people, a lot of Greek restaurants, and this scene is very common to be photos, pictures, paintings, or a painting on the wall is the scene. So this was cool to see that. So I'm keeping this magazine, but Kathleen's Trodden Trail, look up, look. If you want this, tell me. I will send you the appropriate piece, because it's only one pattern. Apparently this is a monthly thing they're doing in here. In this month, the July issue, are the flamingos. So if you want this pattern, tell me. I will send it. It'll be torn out of the magazine, but I'll send it to you. So check that out. Isn't that cute? Totally. So Kathleen, tell me if you want that. And then my primitive needle and my punch needle and primitive stitcher, apparently I can't read, also has a clip in it. Now, I am not doing flip throughs of magazines. I watch them if I want. I don't always, because when a magazine like this comes, which I have every issue, I've subscribed to it since the minute I learned about it. It's a fabulous magazine, as everybody says. This I savor these. So if I'm too busy, I don't even open mine out of the package yet, because I want to, like I said, savor it and look. But I just had to point out this little thing. Last summer we went to Maine for a wedding, and we stayed in the town of Kennebunk, not Kennebunkport, Kennebunk, which is the next town over. And Camp Wool, we were walking down Main Street heading to the restaurant for supper the first night we got there, and we walked past this store that said Camp Wool. Now, I didn't really pay any attention to it. This is horrible. This is horrible. It says wool, and I walked by. My kids, my girls who work at the summer camp, saw the word camp. In the window, what you see are antiques, like an antique store. And I just thought, well, we just got here. Everybody wants to go to supper. Nobody wants to wait around while I poke through the little antique store. But they saw the word camp, and they're like, Mom, come here, come here. So this little store, honestly, we arrived on a Saturday. The wedding was on Sunday, and we left on Monday. This store, honest to God, go to Maine. Go, because look at the patterns, and they're not all just wool. They had with thy needle and thread. They had some other things. I bought some patterns downstairs, like in the very short time I got to spend in there. I bought 2 or 3 buttermilk basin wool candle mats, or little table topper things, and 2 or 3 with thy needle patterns. Oh my gosh, I said to the woman, if I lived in this town, rug hooking, Kathleen, there was a whole rug hooking, people were sitting around the table in the back doing rug hooking. I said to the woman, if I lived in this town, I would live in this store. It would be so dangerous. The wool, I don't rug hook, but I do wool applique things. This was to die for. And I said to the woman, I'm coming back tomorrow. She said, it's Sunday, we're closed. Happy memories, but sad that I won't ever get back there. All right, so then I made some project bags, because I cannot stop kitting things up. This is the thing. I'm doing those 4 big projects, and they're taking forever, and I can't stop thinking about what else I want to do, so I kit things up after I buy them, of course. So there's buying, and then there's kitting. I made some project bags. So I had this fabric. Is that not the cutest fabric ever? And in here, I bought this, I don't know, early summer from Stash Unload. One of those things I never showed anybody. Geraniums. See that? A crock, a quilt, geraniums. I think those are apples. Yeah. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm going to show you just the teeniest little thing. People talk about how when a pattern is like this and it's colored, how hard it is to stitch. Now me, who's been stitching like forever and a day, can't remember working on one that was all colored like that. So my next thing, once I picked out a piece of fabric, was, because I also bought, God, take that word out of my vocabulary. I just want to try it. I see people doing it, and I just thought, and also, let me go back to this pattern. Wow, it's such a good candidate for this. This is going to be sort of a complicated, the quilt squares, because nothing's square. They're all on these angles. And so I labored through, oh, there's a thread. I labored through gridding a piece of fabric. This little tab's on there because that's the bottom. So I gridded it. We'll see. The first couple rows I did, I thought, this is cool. I need to buy some more of this glide, whatever it was that was meant for this. Didn't take many more rows before I thought, oh, heck no, not happening. But this is not that, I mean, that piece of fabric, this pattern is not that huge. You see it? Piece of fabric isn't huge. It's all I could do to squeeze the color choices into the box. So there's that in my lovely new project bag. And then I because we had fabric left. I think I actually did these in reverse order of when I made them. This one I did using Vanna's method, basically, pretty much. Now, she talks about how you have to pay attention to the direction of your fabric. I just cut the fabric apart and spun it over and sewed it. So there's a seam across where the top fold would be and a seam where the bottom fold would be, so that my fabric would then wrap over and be in the right direction, because I didn't want my little jars of flowers being upside down. And I can't even begin to imagine why I had a button that was a daisy, but there it is. I had 2 of them. And this was a fun thing, and I can't even begin to explain to you how I did it. I had magnetic closures, so there's a magnetic closure in there, which, don't break your neck trying to do this. It's cool and all, but everything sticks to it. So, your needle minders, your magnetic board, your magnets, your needles, your scissors. So that's fun. No. In here is Little House Needleworks Lantern Lane. You know, we're doing it. We're all doing it. I'm doing mine with silks because I splurged, but you don't need to splurge. It's a cute enough pattern. Don't break your, bank doing that. I really thought I'd have it finished this morning, but finished. That's not what I mean. I thought I'd have the red finished, and I still might. It's early. I need to go to the grocery store. I need to go to the drugstore. I need things to get ready for when my husband gets home and we're leaving to go move my son. So I had a big rip out. It was so unhappy making. I goofed. A whole chunk of the bottom was over 1 stitch, and I had the whole top done, I think, because I got to the end and I started down and it didn't match. But down below I only had these parts done or something. So I had a bunch of ripping out of the least possible ripping out to do to shift. And the thing about using the silk is it leaves a little residue, even though I have that like eraser thing that pulls up the fuzz. It didn't make me happy. And I am going to be scrimping out the last inch of this red. I was thinking I was going to leave the chimneys, which I believe are red, till the end in case I can't do them in red and have to find a different color to do them. I thought I have to cut the lengths of silk in half. And I worked in my upstairs chair, I worked in my downstairs chair. When I was in my downstairs chair, I thought I had another half of a length, the full thing. Maybe I had pulled 2 from it, but they're 12 strands, so. I looked all over. I came upstairs. I looked all over. I didn't find it. And then I think the next time I worked on it, I found it. So there's some relief that now I have more inches than I thought. And then last night I sat down to work on it, and I couldn't find the main part of my red, only that it turned up, stuck to the back of the thing. I looked in it. I looked everywhere. I looked at the blanket I was sitting with. I looked down in the cushions. I looked under the chair. I looked all over. And then all of a sudden, there it was, just a wad sticking to that. So whatever, keep me on my toes. A wee bit of progress, some progress. Early Americans. Yay, I'm over the hump. There's my early Americans. Yay. And Paul Revere showed up the day before there's a cat here. Paul Revere showed up the day before I finished this middle block. I thought I had a couple weeks because, the middle block took forever. I didn't get this middle block until after Paul Revere had already come out. So anyway, there it is. And I'm over the hump, and I've started outlining the next block. And here's something that's going to happen is I'm putting it away. I'll do Paul Revere, and then I'm putting it away because this is the next block to come out, goes down here under Nathan Hale. And I work in hand, right? Said that like 1,000 times. So I roll it up and I hold it, right? And I hold it in my hand. so that my hands are right there working on it. And I don't like that so much of this is rolled up under my hands for so long. And so I really don't want to add more and more and more to it to be rolled up. I would rather come from the right and work over, which means I need all of the blocks. I need the final block to be the next block I do. So I don't like not keeping up, but at the same time, as I'm getting my fall decorations out and whatnot, I have the itch and the urge. I need to work on some smalls, and so I think this is a good opportunity to put this away. And I'm working on a page of my Heaven and Earth design, and when that's done, I'm putting that aside and doing some holiday and fall smalls. I pulled out this one yesterday. I have the threads and the fabric all ready to go. Little House Needlework, fall squared. It shouldn't take very long. And this was just in a basket by one of my chairs. I haven't even looked in the whole storage bin of my patterns, but I bet I will easily pick out 6 fall or Christmas things that need to be next. So, pretty fall colors. I saw somebody worked on this, and I thought the colors looked awful bright, but when I got the colors out, none of them are super bright. So they're just pretty fall colors. I have a feeling I have pulled a color out of here. I have a feeling. I'm looking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something's missing. This has been kitted up for a while, so I needed something, but I'm just looking at the picture and seeing that the house is sort of a red, or has red in it, right? That looks pretty red to me. There's not a red in here. So, oh, I know. The one color is a DMC. No problem. Easy. There needs to be no ordering. If I'd pulled a color, it could be somewhere, it could be in a kit. You never know. And then a little bit of progress on Jan Lynn's Winter Sampler. I did not get exactly to where I wanted to be, which was to outline the dropping snow, because I don't have all the colors done that touch it. Everywhere I looked made me have to do another color, and did I, like some down here, and then that's moving into the next vignette, and a little on the tree, but that all got so complicated. I thought start at the top of the tree, the bottom of the tree, I don't know, there was some stitches at the top of the tree. I went down to the bottom of the tree and started the snowshoes, and then that color needed to come over here, and there's a little bit of it in the sled that's resting up against the tree, and it all got so complicated. I just thought, okay, I'm done. I'm going back to Early Americans and doing the middle block, and then I'll come back, because this middle vignette with the ice skaters, and there's a back scene of sleigh riders. I was done for a while. So I may get this one out again, despite my fall and or Christmas smalls. We'll see. And my page that I'm doing of my Heaven and Earth is very boring. It's sky. I don't mind doing it. I can do like 500 stitches in a night, which is shocking. But it's just big, huge blobs of color. But it runs to the end. It's the end of the top third of the pattern, roughly. So I'll show it when it's done. It's in Q snaps, and it's boring to look at in its Q snaps. So I'm at almost 45 minutes. I am just teasing it. I'm telling you, I am going to, one of the reasons why I wanted to do the Flosstube today and not wait for that 1, 2, 3 stitch order that I thought was coming yesterday is we will be staying in hotels tonight and tomorrow night. So I might have internet that does the things I want internet to do and not need 30 hours. And if this is going to be 45 minutes, it could be longer than 30 hours. I'm tying the ribbons on the roll. So anyway, that's what's going on here. I'm trying not to obsess about the Weather Channel because there's not a thing I can do. I'm feeling the pain though for the people that are suffering, did suffer, will suffer, because it's not good. This is not good. This is not good stuff. So anyway, fall is here in upstate New York. It's down in the 50s at night, only in the 60s during the day. Yay, 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 yay. I have some things to do, some laundry. My kitties are clingy. I don't know. They get a sense that something's going on. We can't pack suitcases in their presence. My daughter will be here tonight to stay with them. So they'll have people. It's just not the exact person they want. Life will go on and they'll be safe and secure, and we'll get my son settled in DC. There's that sun ray again. And it'll all be exciting. So anyway, oh, did I ever even say it's Friday, September 8th? Friday, September 8th. So I doubt this will be uploaded immediately. You never know. Taking my iPad wherever I go. My son has Wi-Fi.